Hi, Lisa. It's Donna Hurst. I wanted to say that I related to your post on a couple of levels about question number one and the preconceived ideas about statistics. And I have to admit, I'm one that gets palpitations when I think about statistics. And it's not because I haven't experienced them before. I have always thought I was not like the professor said, math person or left brain person. And I've learned that's not true. I really do have an affinity for that, but rather I have just had a rough time with statistics over the years. My first stats course I was terrified of and went into it. And I did fine over the weekly work, understanding how the equations worked. It was when a Regents 8-week classes and did not have live interaction with the professor. When it came to the final, it actually occurred on a weekend that a hurricane had hit the East Coast, and I work in auto claims at an insurance company. And so I ended up having to work when I was supposed to be taking my final and got special dispensation to take the final later. But I was so rattled by the situation of having to get an extension for the class and the final, and the disconnect that I felt from the material, that I did so poorly on that class. And everybody will laugh at me because it's the only class I did not get an A in my undergrad. And I know that's not the end of the world. I got my degree. But I think that just sense of disconnection and not quite understanding everything harmed me, and it continues to resonate in my head. And what I really need to do is some CBT and reframe and tell myself that I did pass the class and I do have a basic understanding of statistics, but I do have this anxiety that comes up, and I need to work on that. That's me, because the concepts aren't that difficult in statistics. Now, doing the equations by hand, especially when you start getting into the standard deviation, we had to do those by hand, and I can do it. It's that I understand the concept, and it's just in my head. So I need to figure that out and work on that. The other part of your post that really resonated with me was the psychometric testing. And yes, the stats are so important in that. And I do psychometric testing as part of my residence at Genesis Counseling Centers. And I will say I do understand the statistics when it comes to the psychometric testing, and it's critical to understand mean and percentile and all the other concepts involved in the stats when you are interpreting those reports for a client. And I seem to understand it there. I just don't know what goes on in my brain that trips me up. But I would say stats are most critical to me in counseling when it comes to psychometric testing and how to properly interpret and apply results for a client. And also in just reading about the studies that have been performed about the treatment that I perform. Like, for example, EMDR, that was very important to me to understand studies that had been done and what the results were and what they meant. And I was pretty impressed with the results. And there was a lot of replication, which, as we know, is important as well. So overall, stats are critical to all of us. And it's just, for me, the reticence is in my head and I need to get over it. So I really enjoyed reading your post, Lisa, and I look forward to working with you further in class.